America is many things to many people. To a 17-year-old kid, it's the malt shop on the corner. To Grandpa, it's the front porch in the cool of the evening. To Mother and her family, it's church on Sunday morning. And to Dad, it's his favorite relaxation. It's the Cracker Barrel philosophers in Crabtree Corners. And it's the tycoons in Wall Street. It's all races, creeds, and religions. It's freedom to work at the job you like. Freedom of speech and to peaceably assemble. Freedom to own property. Security from unlawful search or seizure.
Where's your warrant, Flatfoot?
The right to a speedy and public trial. Protection against cruel punishments and excessive fines. The right to vote. And to worship God in your own way. It is these freedoms that have made America strong.
Okay, so we got our freedom. But management's lousing up everything.
Labor is at fault. It's ruining the country.
My constituents, as your elected representative, I can assure you Labor's right, management's right. I'm strictly neutral.
Labor, management, politicians, phooey. They can't tell corn from oats.
The fast-track bill have told us over and over again that unfettered free trade will increase American jobs and increase American wages, but they have been proven dead wrong every single time we have had a trade agreement. In other words, we hear the same rhetoric. Vote for NAFTA, vote for CAFTA, vote for the free trade agreement with China. It's going to increase jobs in America, improve life for the middle class, and yet every single time the rhetoric around these past trade agreements has been proven to be dead wrong.
Hurry, step right up, folks. Here's the answer to your problems. Dr. Utopia's sensational new discovery, ISM. ISM will cure any ailment of the body politic. It's terrific. It's tremendous. Once you swallow the contents of this bottle, you'll have the bountiful benefit of higher wages, shorter hours, and security. Enormous profits, no strikes. Remember, you're the big boss. Government control, no worry about votes. Name your own salary. Bigger crops, lower costs. Why, ISM even makes the weather perfect every day. And now then, because we are introducing this amazing item for the first time in this country, it isn't going to cost you 1 cent. All you have to do is sign this little scrap of paper, and you get your bottle absolutely free.
Mr. President, I was in the House of Representatives in 1993 and 1994 during the debate over NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. And I remember all of those people who supported that agreement telling us how NAFTA was going to open up the Mexican economy for products made in the United States of America and how it was going to create all kinds of good-paying jobs here in this country. On September 19th, 1993, President Bill Clinton said the following. This is what he said, and I quote, "I, President Clinton, believe that NAFTA will create 200,000 American jobs in the first 2 years of its effect. I believe that NAFTA will create 1 million jobs in the first 5 years of its impact." Bill Clinton, end of quote.
I hereby turn over to ISM Incorporated everything I have, including my freedom and the freedom of my children and my children's children, in return for which said ISM promises to take care of me forever.
That was President Bill Clinton, who strongly supported that agreement. But it wasn't just President Clinton who made those claims. The Heritage Foundation, one of the most conservative think tanks in this country, said back in 1993, and I quote, "Virtually all economists agree that NAFTA will produce a net increase of U.S. jobs over the next decade. End of quote. That is from the Heritage Foundation, conservative think tank. Further, during the debate over NAFTA in the Senate in 1993, the distinguished senator from Kentucky, Mitch McConnell, who is now the majority leader, said, and I quote, "American firms will not move to Mexico just for lower wages." End of quote, Senator McConnell. Virtually every major newspaper in America had editorials saying, support NAFTA, Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. Support NAFTA, it is good for the American worker. Well, it turns out that NAFTA, which of course was supported by every major corporation in America, supported by Wall Street, supported by all of the big money interests, well, it turns out that all of those projections regarding NAFTA turned out to be dead wrong.
Get out of the way!
Pardon me.
And who are you, my good man?
I'm John Q. Public.
Ah, my fine friend, you're just in time to share this generous and gigantic offer. Sign right here.
Mind if I read it first?
Hurry up!
Keep your shirts on, boys. Including my freedom. Freedom? Well, sign away my freedom. Why, this is ridiculous.
Don't be corny, brother.
Sure, our system of free enterprise isn't perfect. But before we throw it away for some imported double talk, let's turn the clock back a few years to see what it's done for us. For example, back in the 1890s, Joe Dokes was just a guy who liked to tinker around his barn. Some people thought Joe was lazy. Some even thought he was nuts. But one day, he had an idea. And because he was free to dream his dream and tinker, Joe had a chance to make something of himself and his idea. So, of course, some people didn't think so much of Joe's idea, but that didn't stop him. So Joe got some money from young Aunt Minnie and Uncle Angus and Grandpappy and Mr. Titus. When Joe's friends and relatives used their savings to help him buy tools and property, they were capitalists. Don't blush, folks. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Now, naturally, Joe needed some help. So he hired Willie Lumpkin, who was out of work anyway, and before long, Willie had the know-how and became skilled labor. Because capital, management, and labor worked together, Joe's idea grew. It grew and did things even he never dreamed of. Today, the automobile industry provides millions of jobs that never existed before. And remember, this is a story of only one industry. There are thousands more scattered all over the United States whose history of development is pretty much the same. We've built a country under the American system that sends more young people to high school and college than all the rest of the world combined. Why, even in the Depression, our wages bought more food, clothing, travel, and entertainment than the wages of any other people in the world. Our country has a national income equal to the total national incomes of any other 6 nations in the world. With only 7% of the Earth's people, we drive 70% of the world's automobiles. That's just a sample of the things the capitalistic system has given us in only 160 years.
According to the well-respected economists at the Economic Policy Institute, NAFTA has led to the loss of more than 680,000 jobs. not the creation of 1 million jobs, the loss of 680,000 American jobs. In 1993, the year before NAFTA was implemented, the United States had a trade surplus with Mexico of more than $1.6 billion. Last year, the trade deficit with Mexico was $53 billion. Let me quote what the Economic Policy Institute says about NAFTA. Quote, President Clinton and his collaborators promised NAFTA would bring good-paying jobs, a rising trade surplus with Mexico, and a dramatic reduction in illegal immigration. Instead, this is according to the EPI, NAFTA directly cost the United States a net loss of 700,000 jobs. The trade surplus with Mexico turned into a chronic deficit, and the economic dislocation in Mexico increased the flow of undocumented workers into the United States. End of quote from the EPI.
Before signing up, you boys ought to try a little taste of Dr. Ism's formula to see what you'd get in exchange for your freedom. Go ahead, try it.
You can't do this to me! I'll strike!
The state forbids strikes.
Wait till the union hears about this!
Ah, yes, the Union. Welcome to our ranks, number 1313.
I'll take this case to the Supreme Court.
The state is the Supreme Court. Our decision is as follows. No more private property. No more you.
Well, the farm vote will put a stop to this.
Farmers don't vote anymore.
What'll they do for seed next year?
You won't have to worry about next year. The state will do your planning from now on.
We must fight to regain our freedom, or everything is lost. Everything!
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
Further, Mr. President, let me just quote an article that appeared in the New York Times yesterday. Quote, Mexico has become the most attractive place in North America to build new automobile factories, a shift that has siphoned jobs from the U.S. and Canada. In the past 2 years, 8 automakers have opened or announced new plans or expansions in Mexico. Low labor costs and fewer tariffs are the swing factors, end of quote, New York Times yesterday. In other words, Mr. President, despite all of the rhetoric about how this unfettered free trade agreement with Mexico was going to create jobs in this country, it turned out, not too surprisingly, I voted against NAFTA, it turned out to be exactly the opposite. Those people who told us how great the agreement was going to be were dead wrong. Why were they wrong? Well, for obvious reasons. When you have workers in low-wage countries, people who are prepared to work for 50 cents an hour, $1 an hour, $2 an hour, it doesn't take a PhD in economics to figure out that corporations will shut down in America, move to those countries, pay workers pennies an hour, not have to worry about environmental regulations, not have to worry about, in some cases, trade unions. You don't have to worry about that stuff. So what would an American corporations do? Of course they would go to those countries. That's exactly what they have done.
When anybody preaches disunity, tries to pit one of us against the other through class warfare, race hatred, or religious intolerance, you know that person seeks to rob us of our freedom and destroy our very lives. And we know what to do about it.
Now, gentlemen, no violence, please. Don't throw those bottles. Don't throw those bottles.
Working together to produce an ever greater abundance of material and spiritual values for all. That is the secret of American prosperity.